Tragedy struck near Navy Pier in Chicago as 27-year-old Zari Walls, a beloved black hairstylist, drowned after falling from a boat in Lake Michigan. She was also the best friend of Kanika Jenkins, who tragically passed away in 2017 after being found dead in a walk-in freezer at a hotel. Her mother urges taking life jacket safety seriously. And 15-year-old Yassine Khalifa, a young black teen from New York, survived a lightning strike in Central Park during a sudden storm. Knocked unconscious, he miraculously avoided serious injury. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Wednesday. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Shout out to my super producer, Naren Sanders, and my co-host, Will Sutton. Hey, Will.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans.
Listen, there's so much to talk about. Happy Hump Day, everybody. It's the middle of the week. Shout out to you. I know where you're going to be at 11, but I'm going to pass over at the little...
I know where you're going to be.
The Jones Academy
for
Girls.
Yeah, you're going to see those beautiful babies.
They're so cute, so squishy.
They're so cute.
So squishy. I grabbed some water like I promised that I would. I sent my donation yesterday like I promised that I would, and I'm going over that today like I promised that I would. And then later on, I'll be at the farmers market over at New Orleans East Hospital doing a live remote from there. So it's going to be a busy day.
That's a busy day already.
Yeah, and then it's not even.
When are you going to get a little rest?
I'm going to go to sleep.
You got a meeting tonight?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
I absolutely do. But that's why I try to tell y'all, when I have my man-like moments, y'all need to let me have them because the girl is busy. But there is so much to talk about locally.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Anytime I can go be around the babies, I can forego a little rest to go ahead and do that. But there's a lot going on, and we're going to talk about some local news just off the rip as soon as we open up the mic because this is wild, right? Mm-hmm. A French Quarter business resident and owner sues the mayor over the trash contract. Now, I thought we were done talking about the contract since they came to some sort of resolution through the courts, I thought. But here we are, Felix Restaurant and Oyster Bar.
Mr. Conwell.
Daniel Conwell. He's the owner of, it looked like...
Felix's.
Yeah, Felix's. Is that?
I think it's on Iberville.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been. I don't think I've ever been. I don't go to restaurants down there, so I don't think I've ever been. But Daniel Conwell, the owner of Felix's Restaurant and Oyster Bar, and he's also a resident, filed a lawsuit in civil court on Monday. Conwell and Kostopoulos accused the mayor of intending to award Henry Consulting a trash contract for the French Quarter, which would result in worse trash pickups in the neighborhood. Now, I always have a hard stop at certain things, right?
Yep.
Because how do you know that? What gives you the impression that it's going to result in worse trash pickups? Let's just be open and honest here. How do you know that?
Let's step back another word. Intended. She did award the contract.
Yeah, but it wasn't it bid on by several people.
Including Ivy Weiss.
Right. And listen, I'm going to have a very transparent moment like I always do. Mr. Henry is one of the owners here at WBOK, but I have questions, and I just want to understand. We could take out Henry Consulting and put in Will Sutton Consulting. Mm-hmm. How do you know that if you change from Wyatt Consulting to Sutton Consulting, that is suddenly going to be worse if Sutton Consulting has never picked up your trash before? So how do you know that is my question. Now, unless you got a little glass ball and you rub it and give you the answers, let a sister know. But I want to know, how do you come to such a negative conclusion about something that hasn't even happened yet?
Let me give you a little,
just a little bit,
a little Superdome thing. So they're changing food vendors.
Yes.
That's like a big contract with a high expectation for the customers who eat at the Superdome. They are changing food vendors. How do they know that the food is going to be worse or going to be better? They don't know until they actually start the job. So what you can do
in the food thing, Will, let's just think about this. I can give you a sample of what my food would be before you make your decision. But how do you know your trash is going to be worse being picked up if the man has never picked up your trash before? Did they do a trial run back then? They're basing it on a trial run? I'm confusion.
But where I'm going with this comparison is, how do you know? You don't know. So what you do is you say, if you're successful getting these contracts, here's what we want. Here's what the city said they wanted, including lemon scent. That's in the contract.
But according to Mr. Henry, that is a part of the contract. That's not something that the current person is doing out the kindness of his lemon-scented heart.
It's in the contract.
It's in the contract. All I'm asking is, I hate things that feel like they have racial undertones, or they feel like they have some sort of bias in it before you even get an opportunity to try something. I just want to know how, because I know you got a little money, Mr. Conwell, but money don't make you have some magical, mythical understanding of what's going to happen before it's even happened. So explain to me how, because I'm stuck at the first part of the article. Henry Consulting is going to result in a worse trash pickup in the neighborhood. How does he know that? That's my first question. Yep. It says Ivy Waste currently holds an emergency contract for trash services, and residents and businesses alike have shown their support for them to continue trash collection. I'd rather you just say that. Say that we like the current state of it. I don't want to change it. That's my vote for it. But how do you insert it's going to end up in a worse trash pickup for your neighborhood? That's what I want to know. And when people always, why everything got to be about race? Because it is. Because that's, to me, that this is some microaggression. I don't like it.
This ain't micro.
No, I'm just saying.
I understand your point. That's
microaggression when you try to pretend like you're going to throw that out there and say, we don't want this contractor because it's going to end up being worse than what we have. How do you know that? Because what if it blows your mind? What if it's better than what you have? What if it's equal to what you have because that's per the contract? And anything I do beyond the contract, everybody looking for money. Nobody's doing it for free. Whatever you do above and beyond the contract, that's your prerogative, but you have to meet the basic needs of the contract. Well, I don't understand how this stuff is allowed to be printed. This is my problem, and nobody asked him. That would have been my next question if I was interviewing him, and he said that. So what gives you the impression that it's going to be worse than what you have, Mr. Conwell? That's what I would have asked, because you don't get to make bold declarations like that and walk away from it. How do you know that?
Well, it's in their lawsuit. So in the courts with lawsuits, you can write whatever you want to write. But I'm just saying,
if I'm the person writing this, I would have called. Look, I'm going to use this statement that you made in your lawsuit. Do you want to clarify or give any insight as to how you believe, or why do you believe it's going to be worse? I don't know. Look, again, I understand you got a little money or whatever, but when did we start allowing a resident or a business owner to dictate who a contract go to? If that's the case, what if there's a business and a resident down the street that actually wants to give Henry Consulting an opportunity to at least see what they're going to do, and then therefore, so then whose opinion do you listen to? Because it's crazy what makes news around here. I promise you, I'm shocked that you can say this with your whole chest as if you've seen him pick up trash in another neighborhood and it didn't go well or something. How do you know? Because before Mr. Henry was here, I didn't even know that he had the contract at
the airport.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I guess everything working out all right.
I mean, I'm just saying, if we're going to measure what he's going to do, the only thing we can measure it against is what he's already done. And if he has the contract at the airport, and I don't hear anybody complaining about trash not being picked up or the airport not being clean or whatever the case may be. And again, I didn't even know he had that contract. That's not something that I would know, I guess. But how does a person make such a bold declaration? The article goes on to say, this is not the only lawsuit tied to the trash controversy. The city is currently in litigation with Ivy Waste, Richards Disposal, and Heron Consultant regarding the trash contract. Heron Consultant is expected to take over the contract on August 1st, with Richards Disposal providing trash services. So now here's my question, Mr. NABJ. Do you believe that they're just trying to tie it up in litigation so that they can't take over the contract and then Ivy Waste continues while it's under litigation? Or how does that work?
Well, I think this is definitely a legal maneuver, because at this point, the residents and the business owners who are in favor of keeping Ivy Waste have not been successful through the city council or through the mayor's office. So they're looking for another avenue to get their wishes. And so, as Sophie Casavar notes in the story, judges have ruled in favor of the mayor. So it's not just the city council and the mayor having a debate and a disagreement. Judges have entered into this, and they have decided that what city council has pointed to, and what's being pointed to in this lawsuit, in terms of city council must approve, is not valid. So it's been ruled invalid and not applicable, and city council can continue to make those arguments, but the courts have ruled that that's not the case. So my guess is that, yes, this is another route with another stakeholder or set of stakeholders to see what else they can do in the little time left before making a switch. Because I guarantee you, I haven't talked to her this week, but I'm sure Mayor Cantrell plans to have Henry Consultant being responsible in the French Quarter for that trash on the date of the executed contract, August 1.
You know what else I'm thinking about as you're speaking? I think the way we frame things also matter, right? I don't want to agree with the mayor. I don't want to agree with the council. I want to agree with the rule of law, or with the home rule charter, or what is the legal base? Like, I just want to agree with what is right. If the mayor is representing what is right, that's why it seems like people want to agree with her. But if it's in line with the way that contracts are awarded, if it's in line with the way that the home rule charter says it's supposed to be done, why are we at this back and forth thing? This is what doesn't make sense to me. This is a mess. What I want to know from somebody who has some legal bearings to them, what happens on, what is that, August 1st?
Mm-hmm.
What happens on August 1st if this lawsuit or another lawsuit is out there in the atmosphere? Do they continue to go with Ivy Waste, or do they swap it over and still go through the litigation of it all? How does that work? Because it seems to me like this is something to just throw another wrench in the whole turnover part of it, because it's almost July.
Right.
That's maybe about a month and or so, left.
Well, get ready for another lawsuit.
But this
Here's my prediction.
Let's
there
see your
will be
prediction.
another lawsuit. Why? Because the state legislature passed Jimmy Harris's bill to become law to allow the 13-member French Quarter Management District to, in cases of emergency needs for contract, to let the contract. So that was signed by the governor this month. And so now look for the French Quarter Management District to have their meeting with a quorum and decide what they want to do under an emergency situation.
I'm confused. This does not. I said it on air when this thing was first pitched. I don't like the way this feels to me, because what are we saying here? So they get to circumvent the power of the mayor's office, or circumvent with the council? So what happened? What does that mean?
According to the new law, the French Quarter Management District can determine if there's an emergency need for a contract, and they can do the emergency contract. Now, here's the thing. Do you think Mayor Cantrell is going to say, okay, whatever you want, this is your emergency?
No.
No. She's
But
the
what
mayor
deems
of the
an emergency?
entirety. Right.
What deems an emergency?
Right.
Who says it's an emergency? By what
Well, that's
standard is
right.
an emergency?
That's
I have all
correct.
of these questions, and I am confusion, Will, because, again, so is the French Quarter its own city or something? Its own municipality? Like, what is it?
No, but they have a French Quarter Management District, and that has 13 members on that board, and they determine, what's best for the French Quarter, as you might do with a neighborhood group or a housing association or something like that. But it doesn't mean, my opinion, you overrule the greater
Well, that's what
authority
it sounds like
of
it's
the
happening.
municipality. Well, and that's why this bill becoming law was so important, because now it has the gravitas of the state legislature.
But it
and
also has precedence, right? In my opinion. I hope you know where I'm going with
Yes,
that.
I do. I see it.
It also
I hear
has
it coming.
precedence. So for me, I don't ever want to rumble with what nobody wants for their area. I just want to make certain that if you could do it for your area, that there's a really well funded, real chronic voting area in the city of New Orleans that I'm hoping is paying attention. Because if they can do it for their area, quite certainly all roads have to go through New Orleans East for every single thing that goes on in the city of New Orleans. I just hope people are paying attention, because if this is what we're doing, right? If we're determining what we want for our area, and then we've somehow managed to put it into law, it sounds like a precedent to me. What you think, Will?
Yeah. I mean, now, I have to say, one of the things that is different between the French Quarter and New Orleans East or Gentilly is there's so many people who deliberately visit that area, that neighborhood.
Because there's so many people who deliberately push people to that area. That is the area that is advertised that's the crown jewel of New Orleans.
It is.
And so there's nothing that's happening down there that if we actually fund the rest of the communities the right way and not, every time you turn on the news making it seem like New Orleans East is Afghanistan, they could have the same stuff out there too. Businesses will go there. Folk will buy property there. We can pop up entertainment and concerts and all of that stuff out there as well. Like, I just want to understand, what does this mean in terms of the structure of the city? If this community of people can dictate a trash contract, what else will they start to dictate? You know what I mean?
Well,
because you're already not allowing black businesses down there. Let's be clear.
There are some.
Where?
There are.
Where?
They are. They don't say I'm a black business.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. You might have outliers. You might have exceptions, but that's not the rule down there.
Yeah. Well,
let's be very clear.
Absolutely.
So, and it's extremely hard to have a business down there. So
it's expensive.
Is that's just a hurdle, right?
And basically, you need to be a part of French Quarter this and French Quarter that.
French Quarter Management District. So they gotta let you in.
Yeah.
You gotta belong to the country club.
Gotta be a part of the different parts.
You gotta put your polo on. Like, that's what you gotta do. Like, what? I'm laughing at it because it's the things we allow them to do right in our face that I have a problem with. I told you when I first heard about that law or that legislation, it didn't sit well.
I remember the first time it was here.
Yeah,
and you were
like, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm true to my emotion because I'm still like, what? Because I want to know the implications of that. I want to know what that means in terms of how the city operates. I want to know what that means in terms of the home rule charter. What does that mean in terms of the council's power, the mayor's power? What else can they dictate? If they can tell us who their trash pickup people are, what else, are they going to be able to dictate? Being the French Quarter Management District, is that what it's called?
Correct. Yep.
Look, there's so much more to talk about, Will, because we have the raid.
Let me just say one thing.
We got the raid to talk about.
Yeah, we
Go
do.
ahead.
Let me just say one more thing. In Sophie's story on NOLA.com, she quotes Jane Cooper, who's the chair of the board, who says that they are looking at our options with the new contracting authority and responsibility.
See what I'm saying? You
Looking
see,
at their
there's something
options.
about Pandora. When you open her up, baby, it's hard to close her. Listen, we're going to be right back, y'all. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors, but when we come back, we're going to talk about that raid.
What happened yesterday?
Y'all remember the raid we talked about?
What happened?
Wait till we tell y'all what they uncover right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
All day long.
Good morning and happy Wednesday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at what's making headlines. This morning, New Orleans police are investigating 2 shootings, one of them deadly. The latest happened around 10:30 last night on Pogger Street in the 7th Ward. We're told a man showed up at a local hospital with a gunshot wound and later died. And earlier, around 6:30 p.m., police say a man was reportedly driving on South Claiborne Avenue near General Taylor Street when he tried to merge into traffic in front of another car. One of the people in that other car allegedly pulled out a gun and fired into the victim's vehicle, hitting him. There is no word on his condition at this time. Then a restaurant owner has filed a lawsuit against Mayor LaToya Cantrell regarding her decision to end the city's contract with Ivy Waste. The mayor wants Henry Consulting to take over services in August, but the lawsuit claims Henry Consulting is not capable of keeping the quarter clean. No word yet on when that matter will be heard in court. And finally, the celebration continues tonight with a special event inside Alex Box Stadium to honor the Tigers and their national championship win. Gates open at 7 and the festivities get going at 8. We will have live coverage starting at 6:30 p.m. right here on WDSU and on our digital platforms. That's in case you can't make it out to Baton Rouge. And that's a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News. Have a great day.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat. Operation Hope founder and CEO John Hope Bryant has dedicated his career to empowering people from underserved communities. And he's worried about how the Trump administration's trade policies could impact those very communities.
When you say tariffs to my population, they're thinking about bread prices, egg prices, kitchen top economics, gas prices, how's it going to affect the restaurant, how's it going to affect the part, the car they're buying or the TV that they're buying, because a lot of this stuff has parts from all around the world, and they're smart enough at least to understand that if there's a tax on that the importer is going to have to potentially raise those prices.
Hope says the U.S. economy is powered by consumers, and his goal through Operation Hope is to make sure all Americans have the financial tools they need to thrive and power the economy. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
Now more than ever, Lowe's knows you don't just want a low price, you want the lowest price. And with our lowest price guarantee, you can count on us for competitive prices on all your home improvement projects. If you find a qualifying lower price somewhere else on the same item, we'll match it. Lowe's, we help, you save. Price match applies the same item, current price at qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at lowes.com/lowest price guarantee.
I gotta get business cards printed for my entire staff, but where do I even?
That was easy.
Oh, okay, Staples. But can I have bigger stuff printed too, like huge signs and banners?
That was easy.
Nice. And what if I had to ship a package?
That was easy.
Have my passport photo taken?
That was easy.
Coffee and snacks?
That was easy.
What about the latest laptops?
That was
Earbuds
easy.
and headphones?
That was
Office
easy.
chairs?
That was easy.
I think I also need to get some Staples.
Seriously?
I had to ask.
For everything your business needs to get the job done.
Staples. That was easy.
That's right. It's party time each and every Sunday night at 7 p.m. on WBOK. It's the Throwback Throwdown with DJ Wick as he brings you the best in old school from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the early 2Ks. Plus, the party goes to another level at 9 p.m. with the Throwback Throwdown Party Mix to round out the night. It's the Throwback Throwdown Sunday nights at 7 p.m. on WBOK and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest
updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed, stay engaged. Visit nolapublicschools.com today. Again, that's nolapublicschools.com.
New Orleans, your health matters. Join a National Minority Quality Forum for a free community health screening on Saturday, June 28th from 11:30 to 3 at Xavier University's McCaffrey Ballroom. Get checked with free exams from breast and kidney screenings to blood pressure, dental, vision, mental health, and more. Vaccines, free food, giveaways, music, and a kids zone, all for you. Let's bridge care and community. No insurance, no problem. Come get your health passport and start your wellness journey. That's Saturday, June 28th, Xavier University. Don't miss it.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta White. Shout out to my co-host, Will Sutton. Will, we already have a caller on line one. I'm going to grab the call, but I got to tell you, they're cutting up in the chat. One of the comments says, New Orleans East needs to succeed, period, exclamation point. And it also, one of them also said, because I keep saying I am confusion. One of them said, I'm not confused. I see this con. I can recognize this con. Listen, that's one thing I do love about the WBOK listening audience. You're going to get their thoughts, whether they agree with what you're talking about or not. They're going to tell you how they feel. Good morning, Don. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Yeah, very good morning to you, Dr. White.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, you know, the issue with the sanitation is, well, number one is sanitation has to have access to landfills. I'll be more concerned with landfills, where they're located and how they're managed, much more than who picks up the trash, where they're bringing it, where the landfills. And, you know, once a city advocate its sanitation department, then you have those issues. If the sanitation department was still a department in the city of New Orleans, you wouldn't have these issues of who gets what contract. It would fall under the supervision and the authority of the city. They advocate that. They don't have a sanitation department anymore. So, do you know in Texas, you have communities with 2 or 3 different sanitation pickup companies? You have GFL, you have Texas Waste, you have, and then not to mention, you know, Waste Management. I mean, you have a number of sanitation companies, but the issue, as I say, is the landfills. Where do they go to empty their trucks? And I think that is far more environmental. But, you know, Canal Street, Bourbon Street, the Vieux Carré, the red light, the Vieux Carré and the French Quarter is a part of New Orleans, okay? And Canal Street, for what it's worth, Canal Street is twice as wide as Times Square in New York City. Did you know that? It's twice as big. And did you know City Park is almost twice the size as Central Park in New York?
Absolutely.
City Park.
Yeah.
But
just
it's
shy
not
of
a part of
50%.
it's not a part of the French Quarter. Almond Park is not a part of the French Quarter. Canal Street runs from what? From the river to the cemeteries. And it's a very wide, open access. So I think the continued development of Canal Street from Union's Terminal Station, from Howard and Loyola, all the way to the river, all the way on up, it should be the criteria, because if the Vieux Carré and the French Market, French Quarter, and Bourbon is the activity, then that means that other parts has been underinvested in. Okay, so Howard Avenue, if it's still Howard Avenue, I know the Confederacy, but Loyola and all of those areas, all the way up. When people realize the value of New Orleans, what it represents, and the opportunity, and what the diamonds and jewels that it has, then it will be better managed. we fighting over nickels and pennies instead of being on our way to dollars. And that's the narrow-mindedness sometimes, the frustration I hear in people's voice about how other people are trying to manage. New Orleans has over 100 registered neighborhood and community organizations. Those organizations should be just as active as any in the city because they have that ability. And as far as New Orleans East succeed to what? They're still going to need city services. They're not going to put in their own sewage, their own water lines, and all these things. Those things are infrastructure that is, like I say, once you advocate from those responsibilities that the city and the
let me ask you something, Don. Are you paying attention to what's going on in Baton Rouge? Do you know what St. George is doing out there in Baton Rouge? So when you say succeed to what? You know they're taking public dollars, taxpayer money, and creating their own little utopia for themselves in the community that they want to carve out. You do know they're doing that in Baton Rouge, right? So when we talk about succeed to what, as if New Orleans East just can't, for some strange reason, I don't know why we talk about the East as if they can't do what we're watching other communities do in real time. What would be the difference in what we're saying about New Orleans East and what we're watching happen in St. George?
Well, what I'm saying is that's more to me, as it reflects to me, a issue of, okay, it's a scarcity thing. Okay, they're taking limited resources from a limited amount of resource. I don't see it that way. That's why I mentioned City Park, Canal Street, the whole being bigger than Times Square, because if you're looking at it as a scarcity issue,
I'm looking at it as
limited
New Orleans
resources,
being able to maximize their own tax base. That's how I'm looking at it.
But I don't have that view. I look at it as under managing, under disinvestment, under managing the resources to its capacity. If you have 2 children or 3 children, you're not going to raise one child and deny the other child because of scarcity. No, you're going to find a way to be innovative and loving in the same way to raise them to the
well,
best
if I use
ability.
your same analogy,
and that's what the assets are.
Don, if I use your same analogy and we look at it about the different communities we have right here in the city of New Orleans, why can't New Orleans East? She's a child of the city as well, right? She is the city. Why she can't be looked after the same way other communities in New Orleans are looked after? And you can't tell me they're putting the same kind of tender loving care in New Orleans East that they're putting in other parts of the city of New Orleans. If we're going to use the baby analogy, then let's be very clear.
I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to say it like this from my own experience.
It's more valuable than most of what you're pouring all of your tender loving care into. That's all I'm saying. And all I'm saying with the analogy to St. George is the East can do with their own taxes, which St. George is doing with somebody else's money. That's all I'm saying. That's just my purview on that. Here's
the thing, Dr. White, not disagreeing with you at all. What I'm saying is all you got to do is stand on Earhart Expressway and watch which way the traffic is going in the morning.
No, I got you. I'm following you, Don. I hear you.
Watch which way the traffic is going in the morning and watch which way the traffic is going in the afternoon. So the city of New Orleans is just like my parents told us, you can stay here as long as you need to stay here. As long as you respect me and my dad. Respect your parents. I never left my parents' home because I was disgruntled. I left my parents' home because I was able, mature, and ready to go out on my own and establish my own family. I'm not a disgruntled child leaving home trying to prove something to my parents.
Well, that's probably because your parents didn't treat you like a stepchild or a wayward child either. Let's be clear. If that's the analogy you want to use, you're not disgruntled because you were not treated poorly. There are a lot of children who are disgruntled because they're treated poorly and they want to separate themselves from that trauma and try to create something for themselves that they're not getting in their homes. So if you weren't disgruntled and you just had the privilege or the resources to move about how you wanted to because you were not being mistreated, there are a whole lot of people who are. And what I'm saying is New Orleans East is being mistreated. New Orleans East has a right to be disgruntled. That's all I'm saying, Don. I gotta take another caller, Don. I appreciate you, though.
And when the baby was hungry, they cried.
Yeah. Of
All
course.
right, so that was a way of communicating. So parents are not soothsayers. Children, as well as adults, we have to learn to communicate what our needs are. A husband and a wife. A husband is not a mind reader, and a wife is not a mind reader. They have to learn to communicate with each other and understand each other's needs.
Before I have to let you go, are you trying to imply that the East is not speaking up about what they need in their community? Are you implying that?
No, I'm not implying that. I'm saying it is a two-way responsibility. The city you have to have mature leadership to understand the relationship that they have with their constituents and communities.
All right.
It's all about relationships and communicating those needs, not getting in here, throwing over desks, throwing tantrums. And it's about being, look, you know what I'm talking about, being woman enough to say what you need. And
I got you down. I'm getting ready to take another call. I appreciate you, though. You know we can go on and on about this because I like where you're going. But I also have some pushback on the direction you're going, because we agree on some things, but the manner in which you're saying it, as if New Orleans East is just destitute and don't deserve to have a say in what goes on in their community. I disagree with that. And if you consider that a tantrum, then that's where we're going to disagree. I got to go, though, Don. I got to take Miss Alicia's call. I'm going to talk to you next time. I appreciate you.
7:37.
Good morning, Miss Alicia. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
Okay, I hope I have the same time that Don.
Go ahead.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Don, I hope you're listening. So let me give you a little lesson about New Orleans East. New Orleans East, if we were to succeed from the city, we would be the 5th or 6th largest city in this state. Right now, New Orleans East just itself is larger than Lake Charles, Louisiana. Okay? We have 8 lake communities. Count them. 8 lake communities. The housing prices over there, nothing you can get in New Orleans East unless it's a shack and you got to redo it, under $150,000. We have NASA in New Orleans East. We have Folgers / Smuckers in New Orleans East, the largest coffee company in the world. We also have Louisiana. We have the airport out there. We have railway, waterway, and since you're sitting there counting cars on Earhart, come out here on any one of our exits and count cars. Because the only way you can get into New Orleans, the city of New Orleans, through the east is New Orleans East. Can't get here no other kind of way. Even if you fly in the airport, you're going to be dropped off at the Lakefront Airport. So when you come and talk about with New Orleans East, don't say that because we have. And I don't want to pat myself on the back. We fought to bring people back from New Orleans East. The guy who just died, Joe Canizero, Alden McDonald, and Ann Duplessis, they were in on that green space in us. So we don't come back. We have the highest in educated black folk, black middle class in New Orleans East. You don't have a bunch of dummies who's sitting there and taking stuff. They want to throw people to the east and don't want to give us the services for what we pay our taxes for. That Costco's that's uptown, I brought that Costco's to the state of Louisiana, first Costco's. And we tried to get it over here where it used to be Walmart and Sam's. Mitch Landrieu moved it uptown. We fought for the hospital. There's 5 of us, called the 5 Ladies in Pearls, that we took Mitch Landrieu to court because he did not want a hospital in New Orleans East. And because the 5 Ladies in Pearls fought and didn't drop out of that lawsuit, we knew the game he was playing. He wanted to wait until the legislatures get back in office and change the legislation to give him the power. And you know who gave him the final power? Cynthia Willer-Lewis. So don't talk about New Orleans East. We're sitting here taking crap. No, we're not. We've been complaining. And they can do something with that plaza site if they give incentives over there, because the owners of the plazas owe so much money in taxes and lawsuits until it can't be done, unless the city gives an incentive for the developers to come out here and redo the plaza. So don't come here and sit and talk about that. We did the work to succeed from New Orleans. It was myself, Clyde McCoy, Vanessa Garringer, Leon Richard, and his son. We did the homework to succeed from New Orleans proper. What happened is we cannot do like St. George did. St. George was able to go to the legislature, and only St. George voted to leave because we are one city, one parish. Everybody in the whole parish would have to vote to let us go. Do you think them folk gonna let us go on our money and they using our money? No, we need the petition to be able to vote to leave because only New Orleans East residents. When I say New Orleans East, I'm also including the Lower Nine. And if you're so smart, Don, go look up The Return of Splendor by Press Kabakoff. That Return of Splendor manifesto was made for New Orleans East not to come back. So you go look that up. Don't sit up there in Houston and talk about our needs and what we don't have and why we don't have it. We've been fighting, and we're not going to stop. We deserve our services that we pay for, just like Lakeview, just like Uptown, and we're tired of the shadow government, the Uptown shadow government, telling us what we can and cannot do here in the city of New Orleans East. Have a good one, Don.
Thank you, Miss Alicia.
All righty now.
Listen, let me tell you something. Sometimes you just got to sit back and let the people just hash it out. Because my issue with what Don was saying was he made these analogies to parents and kids. Yeah. Like we all know, like children can grow up in the same household and have two totally different experiences with their children. That lends itself to different experiences with their parents, right? Mm-hmm. That lends itself to the conversation you and I were having about the survey. Yep. When they came out with the survey. Mm-hmm. I asked those questions because the experience that was being espoused in the survey is not parallel to the experiences that I know folk that come out of my neighborhood are having. That's why it's important to have a robust survey that goes and gets the experiences of the entire New Orleans. But you don't bring me no survey with 500 people and tell me that that's indicative of what the entire city wants when majority of the 500 come from parts of the community that have not seen the degradation that we've seen that our experiences align to. So I don't like when we try to paint New Orleans East, and I don't live in New Orleans East. Right. I don't. But I'm young enough to know that was the place to live. You know what I mean? But people were flocking to that community to go live there, right? Much like certain communities on the West Bank that are now talked so down about, but that was the place where black folk set up shop, right, on the West Bank. So we have to be careful about participating in a conversation that paints New Orleans East as if it's undesirable. Right. And I don't just say this about individuals. I say this about media as well, because you can have a murder that happens 50 miles away from New Orleans East. For some reason, they're going to say next door to New Orleans East. Like, why do you even have to mention it? Because it's by design. You're trying to create and let's act like it doesn't happen. Like it happens. We have to be very careful about willingly participating in those sorts of conversations because we understand money comes where money feels like it can make money, and money comes where the people feel safe enough to visit so the money can be made. And if you continue to try to degrade a community with your misinformation or with what you've heard, we're never going to get the East to realize its full potential, because we're participating in the negative conversations about it. Good morning, Puzzle Master. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning. Well, since Miss Alicia Plummer graciously, thank you, went down a list of everything. Hopefully, I don't repeat what she said, but what I also want Donna to remember and also understand is that mall that's in Slidell on Fremont Road. That mall was supposed to be in the east. Number one, they took out a state U.S. DOT Louisiana scale for over-the-road trucks, built a ramp, and then built that area over there. So just imagine if that mall would have been in the east, what would be going on in the east? Right. Number two, when you look at now he won't say it, but our owner of WBOK, when you looked at the renderings and the drawings, the first drawings that they wanted to do for the Six Flags Center, in my opinion, and I've told Mr. Henry this when he used to call on the radio, that gas station or that fuel station that you're looking at in that drawing, if you look at a Buc-ee's, that was supposed to be our Buc-ee's that they're building over there in Mississippi right now. Okay, look at the doggone infrastructure that they put in over there for that Buc-ee's. You got a whole new lane of traffic going. Come on, man.
Right. And listen, this is the kind of conversations we have to have, because if not here, then where? Right? And we and again, I'm gonna say this. I respect everybody's purview, but if I have a pushback on something you're saying, that's why I have a mic. And I'm not going to allow conversations to happen that continue to push our people out of the conversation while other people get to determine what their neighborhood should look like. That's my only thing. We're watching them do for themselves what we know don't include us. And we just we standing on the sideline talking about woe is me. No, we've never been that kind of people. So if they can carve out their utopia, then we can do the same thing as well. Because I really don't care what people do for themselves. All I care about is stop blocking us from being able to do for ourselves as well. That's my whole point.
And that's all we say.
Yeah.
Stop. I almost said it. But
I know we got a bill over here to clean it up for you.
I can't wait to hear about this raid. And my final thing, I'm gonna go with this. I don't live in the East no longer, but I didn't realize I was the middle class until Hurricane Katrina and the houses that I had in the East, Don.
Yeah.
So when New Orleans East succeeds, I can't wait to move back to the East.
Come on now. Look, I got to go to break because we got to hear a word from our sponsors, but I hope you keep listening because I'm going to talk about it. Thank you, Puzzle Master. I appreciate you. Hey, Brother Calvin, hold on for me 1 second. We got to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to grab your call, and we got to tell them about the raid and what these people found. Y'all stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
All day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Today is a WDSU First Warning Weather Impact Day as a heat advisory remains in effect through 7 p.m. Afternoon highs will reach the mid-90s, but it could feel as hot as 110 degrees. There's also a slight chance, about 20%, for a few afternoon showers or thunderstorms, but most of us will stay dry and hot. Take precautions in the heat today and check on pets and loved ones. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Hi, this is Arnie Filko. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events to sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join Carrie and I every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Carrie Show. See you soon.
At New Orleans East Hospital, we believe healthcare should come with heart. Located at 5620 Reed Boulevard, we proudly serve the New Orleans community with compassion, courtesy, and a commitment to excellence. From healing to education, we want to be your trusted healthcare partner that's close to home. New Orleans East Hospital, delivering a culture of healthy care. The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, Please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Rashawn Sawaya. Shout out to my super producer over there training up the children in the way they should go so they do not go astray, huh?
Absolutely.
And my co-host Will Sutton. Hey, Will.
Good morning.
Good morning, Brother Calvin. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. I got a simple question.
Sure.
So Henry Consulting is going to be the ones that's picking up in the French Quarter, or is it going to be Richardson?
Well, the Henry Consultant has the contract,
Has
and
the
it's in
contract,
partnership
but I'm
with.
understanding who's going to actually do the heavy lifting of the work is Richardson. And it's, to my understanding, Richardson has never been dinged or said that they're not competent enough to do this work. They've been doing this work all these years.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like, to me, it's more of an attack on black leadership than on anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that if we can overthrow, because this is what, to me, the state government is about, is coming into New Orleans to take over anything in any area that they can to show that they have a better plan for the city and a better understanding of what the city needs than the people that lives here.
Yeah.
Again, you turn down companies. This is not just going to impact Henry Consultants. This is trying to impact those business leaders, those black business leaders that we have, to reduce what they're doing and give them work and the people that they're hiring in this community.
Yeah.
I think at some point we got to have real conversation as to what is really going on in our city.
That's what we're doing right now, Rev.
Coming in to take over.
That's what we're doing right now. I appreciate you pointing that out, because I've not heard since the start of this conversation as it relates to the trash contract. I've not heard anything about Richard's disposal being incompetent or not capable of doing the job. Matter of fact, all I've heard are wonderful things about that business and that
so
that
now
gentleman.
you're going to take the contract away from him
Yeah.
and his employees to say that. And again, there's no basis for what this guy's lawsuit. I'm listening, but I have yet to hear.
Yeah, I gave you the information as it was presented, and the only thing that I saw that he said was that it will result in the worst trash pickups in the neighborhood. And it's not just him. It's Daniel Conwell, who is the owner of the restaurant, but it's also Marina Kostopoulos. She's a French Quarter resident. So they're in tandem together on this lawsuit.
When I look back over and see how they kept Major Raleigh out of the French Quarter,
yes,
it tells me a lot. And again, anytime you're talking about controlling an area, that means that they're not just coming in here to take over that area. They want to look at what the revenue, because they're not talking about anywhere else. And as long as they can generate the money, they have control of the money that area generates.
And let me point this out. A part of that thing with Major Riley inside of the litigation is a quote that says, one of the guys said to her, "Get out, N-word. We don't want you here." That's listed in the document, and so that speaks to me to the tone of what what is happening down there. And I mean that's the point I was making with Will earlier. It is very hard as a black business to do business in the French Quarter, and if you get in the French Quarter, it's very hard to stay in the French Quarter, and so that shouldn't be not in a culturally rich city such as New Orleans. That should not be. And so these are the conversations we have to have so that we can do our part to make certain that we amplify those sorts of situations to make people aware, but we also come together to do right by each other.
About our area. And I'll say this and I'll leave. See St. George? That was done deliberately and intentionally. And like you said, now they need the resources in order to maintain St. George.
Yep.
All right.
Pay attention.
And so they want to come back into the parish, into Baton Rouge, takes money out of Baton Rouge to sustain St. George.
Yes.
Think about what the real deal is.
Yep. All right, Rev, I appreciate you. Thank you for your call.
Irrigation is alive and well.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Listen, I listen. I don't disagree. I think that this is a conversation that needs more time. At the 8 o'clock mark, we're gonna hear from Delta Utilities Executive Chairman of the Board, Pete Tamanilo. I hope I said that right, but he'll tell me if I didn't. And Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Sarah Porteous, at the 8 o'clock mark. But right now, I got a few minutes, Will, and we got to talk about the raid.
Well, we're going to have to talk about the raid again because
we definitely will.
couple minutes.
We've been promising the people we're going to talk about the raid. We're going to touch the raid, and we're going to pick the raid back up on the other side. But we have to at least tell you all of the things that they they arrested 6 people. We're just going to tell you the basis of it. They arrested 6 people.
But wait. How about we start with it involved firepower from Louisiana State Police, the New Orleans Police Department, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, the FBI, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, and the District Attorney's Office.
So in all of that firepower, all of that show of force, they arrested 6 people, 2 properties were seized, and guess how much drugs, y'all? Oh, y'all don't know, a half a pound. Now, I don't proclaim to be no street pharmacist or no street chemist, but I can tell you right now, I was like, that's all?
What?
I was like, that's all? Go ahead.
Yeah, but the half a pound wasn't a half a pound of cocaine.
No.
It was a half a pound
of everything.
Including the cocaine, the fentanyl, and the MDMA. It's like, my goodness. Business must have been good before they came there.
We're gonna continue to talk about it. We gotta go to break, but when we come back, we're gonna hear from Delta Utilities on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM when New Orleans is talking about
all day long.
WBOK New Orleans, home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
New Schools for New Orleans, along with New Orleans Public Schools and the Cowell Institute, are excited to announce the launch of a new digital tool on the data dashboard. New Orleans Public Schools, 20 years later, a timeline of recovery, transformation, and growth. The tool provides data, information, and context on the past 20 years of K-12 education in New Orleans, the changes that occurred, and the outcomes these changes helped produce. Visit NOLApublicsschools.com/K20 to view the tool and learn more.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. A bipartisan vote in the House has blocked an impeachment attempt against President Trump. Black Texas Congressman Al Green accused Trump of abusing power by launching strikes on Iranian nuclear sites without congressional approval.
I do this because I love my country. I do this because I understand that the Constitution is going to be meaningful or it will be meaningless.
Tuesday's vote was 344 to 79, with 128 Democrats voting with Republicans. Closing arguments begin Thursday in Sean Diddy Combs' sex crimes trial in New York. Both sides rested, with no witnesses from the defense and no rebuttal from prosecutors. Combs has pleaded not guilty to sex trafficking and other charges. And the 2025 NBA Draft tips off Wednesday night in Brooklyn with the Dallas Mavericks holding the top pick. Rutgers stars Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are also projected early picks. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Right now, we are joined by our partners from Delta Utilities. We have the Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Ms. Sarah Porteous. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
And Delta Utilities Executive Chairman of the Board, Mr. Pete Tuminello. Shout out to the West Bank, baby.
Ooh. What y'all trying to do? Trying to load up on us here.
Come on. Algiers. Now, he had the nerve to be from Algiers, too. Oh, come on now, Sarah. You outdid yourself. But welcome to the Good Morning Show. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Great to be here.
So
and I see that blue blazer. You know what else?
What
else high school you go to?
Only one in town, Jesuit Blue Jays. Jesuit Blue Jays.
Now, see, you had me till you didn't. The only one in town.
No, just having some fun.
A Blue Jay guy.
Yeah, you know, we do have fun here. And that's good because you're New Orleans born and bred, I see, right?
Yes, I am.
Because you know,
Grew up on
somebody
the West
asked
Bank.
you what school you went to, and you could come up with Jesuit. You're from the West Bank.
Yeah.
So we've spoken to Sarah, I feel like multiple times already. So I feel like I know Sarah. So tell us a little bit about you and your role with Delta Utilities and how excited you are to start this new venture.
So I love that question. So I grew up here in New Orleans on the West Bank. Went to school, elementary school there, went to Jesuit. Then went to Louisiana Tech as a petroleum engineer, and then went to ULL in Lafayette to get my MBA. So I've been in the state.
Raging Cajuns.
Raised here, schooled here, then went to work in Texas in the oil and gas business over the last 40 years. So what's really interesting is I retired from the industry after 40 years. The last 18 years were with a big utility Southern company out of Atlanta, and I ran their Houston office, which we had natural gas pipelines, natural gas storage business, a big energy trading company. But I retired about 4 years ago. Well, 2 years ago, Bernhard Capital called me and said, we really want to get into the natural gas utility business. You've been involved with it all your career. Can you help us? So I was about to enjoy being a grandfather, playing a little bit more golf, retiring. But this was too exciting because they said, we want to build this business in Louisiana. We want to headquarter it in New Orleans. As a New Orleanian, I have seen over the last many decades, we all have the moving trucks going out of state. I wanted to bring them back. I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to help lead that. So after consulting with Bernhard for the last 2 years to help make these acquisitions of the CenterPoint utilities and the Entergy utilities, that's now 600,000 customers in Louisiana, Mississippi, they asked me to chair the board for Delta Utilities. So
you had to know that was coming.
Well, I didn't know, but it was an honor to be asked to do that. It's a privilege to come back and work in my hometown, and it is beyond exciting being able to hire people, get the moving vans back into New Orleans, back into Louisiana, bring jobs, bring excitement, bring energy. We are bringing energy literally to this city.
Listen, I if he wasn't on the board, he had to be in a commercial because, I mean, he's selling it, right?
He certainly is.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Sarah, can you, for our new listeners, I know some folk have caught you, the other times you were on, but can you tell us about Delta Utilities? Who is Delta Utilities, and why are you the right company to take over natural gas services in the city of New Orleans?
Yeah, well, as Pete said, we're a Louisiana-born company. Our headquarters is based right here in downtown New Orleans, which is really exciting. for the city, and we're going to be acquiring the natural gas operations from Entergy in both New Orleans and Baton Rouge, and that's going to be happening very soon, next week, which we're really excited about. So 109,000 customers here in New Orleans are going to be served by Delta Utilities.
And what should New Orleanians know about the transition from Entergy to Delta Utilities?
So we really tried to make it as seamless as possible. Their natural gas service will continue as it is now. They're going to have all the same payment options via online, walk-in centers, any method that they've had at Entergy, they will have here. They will get two separate bills. One, their natural gas bill will be from Delta Utilities. They'll still get their electric bill from Entergy. That's the only real difference that they will see. Otherwise, it should be pretty seamless.
So are there any plans for Delta Utilities to go into the other part of that where it can be you service the electric and the gas? Is there any plans to do that?
Well, we are a natural gas company,
Mhm.
so we are designed to be a natural gas utility. Now, what you more than likely see in the future, I would like to see as chairman of the board, is us growing in the natural gas space, finding maybe municipals that are in the state of Louisiana or Mississippi that need our support, our infrastructure, our help, bring our services to more municipal utilities. We will look for other acquisitions that we can kind of bolt on and plug and play with what we have. We believe we're going to put together a very efficient set of systems and a very efficient cost structure that we can then spread out to more utilities over time, but on the natural gas side.
We have witnessed so many people leaving, not just New Orleans, but the state of Louisiana. That has a unfortunate impact on our economic development. At the time that you're trying to grow, you need people to stay. You need other people to move here. You need that momentum. But Delta Utilities, with this move, is making a huge step toward keeping people here and bringing people here. I'm really pleased and amazed, really, that you, if I have the numbers wrong, tell me, but there are energy employees who worked with gas for energy, and you offered every single one of them jobs to come over to the other company. You oftentimes when you hear about a company making this kind of move, it's with the idea of shrinkage, as opposed to y'all come with us, and then we're going to hire more, and you're going to hire another couple hundred more?
That's correct. So every single Entergy employee was offered a job, and I believe every single employee accepted those jobs.
That is
So
true.
Baton Rouge and in New Orleans, 200 employees, mainly all out in the field, doing the work that we need done to keep the natural gas pipes running. We also are building a corporate headquarters here in New Orleans, adding another 200 people. So if you look at what we were able to bring over from Entergy, it's all the operational talent. If you look at the corporate headquarters side, none of that came over. None of the finance, IT, accounting, call center, all of that stayed back with Entergy. So we are building that whole functional part of the professional staff in the headquarters building. That's the 200 people that we are hiring here in New Orleans.
And I think that it's such an important point because we talk about making sure that we have a seamless transition for our customers, and that's really what this is about. Part of that is bringing over the institutional knowledge that exists with all of those energy gas employees that have been serving customers out in the field for so long.
And so we'll be able to take that functional headquarters here in New Orleans and provide these support services for the whole state and for Mississippi. So recall, we also closed in April acquiring the Centerpoint Utilities, which was 400,000 customers, Shreveport, Lake Charles, Gulfport, Biloxi, outskirts of Jackson, Mississippi. So those areas are also part of Delta Utilities, and that'll all be supported out of the New Orleans headquarters.
That's right.
And so this is always a question. I checked the chat. Somebody said they love you, Sarah, in the chat. I wanted to just share that with you.
Love you too.
But they're concerned about the rates. Will there ever be now or in the near future any rate changes as it relates to the transition from Entergy to Delta Utilities?
So we've agreed to just assume the rate structure that Entergy had. So for 15 months, there will be absolute no rate changes at all. Over time, we'll see how that goes. We are building new infrastructure. We're building new systems. But remember, if it were left up like it was, or Entergy was controlling the system, they would have rate increases over time. Inflation other things that they were adding, new systems, new enhancements that they would do. So really the way I look at it is customers are benefiting by us keeping rates flat, and it is a highly beneficial thing for these customers over the first 15 months.
Yeah, and the way that this works, we can't file a rate case until 15 months post the date of the closing, and then the process usually takes about a year to go through that rate filing. So we're talking about rate stability, for the next 2 years.
So, and that's good to know. I think for folk, change is hard, no matter what it looks like. Some people can be in a bad situation, just change is hard for them, even if they're going to something better. But why natural gas? Why is it so important? Or not so important, but why choose natural gas as opposed to something different?
So natural gas is probably one of the most efficient fuels you can use to bring heating into your home, run your hot water heater, and actually even fuel big power plants to produce electricity. But us we're not in that side. We're in the bringing the natural gas to your home and to your business to heat your hot water, for cooking, those types of things. So customers will save probably about $1,000 a year using natural gas versus having an all-electric home. So that's huge. That's really an important thing for all of our customers to be aware of. The other thing is we are in a state that is blessed with an enormous resource of natural gas. There's this area called the Haynesville Shale, northwest Louisiana. Pipelines are moving that natural gas all over the country. People want Louisiana's natural gas. We're a demand center right here in the state in our utility, so we have access to this low-cost fuel right here produced in Louisiana. So think about the whole value chain. It's produced in Louisiana. Big pipelines transport it to our utilities. Then we transport it to every single homeowner. So there's a great value chain for a resource that is here in Louisiana.
But what makes natural gas more cost efficient?
So just the way a furnace works, the efficiency of the equipment is much better. If you were to produce electricity, you've got to go use either nuclear or natural gas or a renewable fuel. Then it's got to go on a transmission line, and it's got to then be transported to your home that way. Where natural gas just burns more efficiently, and over time, there are many studies that the government has put out on this that's supporting the belief that natural gas is one of the lowest cost ways to get energy into your home. Mm-hmm. And it cooks a lot better too.
It does. We were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah. Well, gumbo,
Bananas Foster.
Could you imagine?
Bananas Foster.
Bananas Foster. How would you cook Bananas Foster on an electric stove?
I want to see that video.
Laughable, right?
Yeah, right. So one of our listeners, Alicia, has a question, which is, what about the old school people who maybe don't have internet? Maybe they used to paying like in person. Can they still do that? And where can they do that?
Absolutely. We recognize everybody does not have a computer, and they may need some help setting up their online accounts, or may just want to talk to a customer service representative. So we have two options, one on the East Bank, one on the West Bank. On the East Bank, we'll be co-located with Entergy at 3400 Canal in their office building. At the time of closing, we'll have customer service representatives there. And on the West Bank, we're very excited about a partnership that we're developing with Liberty Bank.
Oh, yes. Liberty Bank.
Liberty Bank, yes. So, so as Tim said.
So that's on de Gaulle.
That's on General de Gaulle, yes. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, as Pete said, we have people can pay in the same ways that they are used to doing with Entergy. If they want to call on the phone, if they want to go in person, if they want to pay online, we have all of the same options.
And Will, if I could.
Some folk like to mail it. My grandmother always mailed.
That's an option too.
Yeah.
We want to hear from our customers as we take over the natural gas system July 1. Over time, if there are things customers want to see different, if they think we're not hitting on all cylinders, we want to hear from them. We want to be the best possible experience. But frankly, they want it to just be seamless. They want to turn on their stove and they want their gas to work. They want the hot water to work. They want it to be seamless. So we want to provide seamless experience for them. But if we can improve, please let us know. Go on our website and provide comments to us.
Which was my next question. So let's say somebody wanted to give that feedback or just go to your frequently asked questions landing page. What is the website that they can visit?
So they can go to www.deltautilities.com, and people can leave feedback in that way. Once the transition happens, we're going to be in contact with customers via traditional mail as well as by email. So they'll get a kind of a welcome message from us. They're going to get all of our customer service contact information and some information about natural gas safety. And then customers are also going to get information with their first bill about how they can set up their online accounts. And also for people who may not be comfortable going onto the internet, they're going to get a list of all of the walk-in payment centers, including the ones I mentioned on Canal and at Liberty Bank.
So, Pete, what final message do you have for New Orleans residents as Delta Utilities becomes their new natural gas provider come July 1st?
So I would just say the message is we're excited to be anchored in New Orleans. We're going to be hiring 200 people here in town. We've hired probably half of that already. Go on our website, look at the jobs. If there are things that are interesting to you, like I said, we have accounting, engineering, IT, all kind of jobs available. The other important thing is in the utility space, it's an aging workforce out in the field. We're going to have retirements over time. So we're going to have more and more jobs out in the field become available. We are a partner in this city. We want to give back to the city. We want to engage deeply in New Orleans and throughout the state of Louisiana and in Mississippi, and we want to be a partner. We're not here for today only. We're here for the long term and look forward to being part of the fabric of this community.
One of our Facebook listeners, watchers, Toya, wants to know, will these employees be paid a living wage?
Absolutely. The energy business is one of the best paying industries, I think, out there. I've been in it for 40 years, and I think it's something that you can sustainably.
42, huh?
I'm only 40. Yeah, that's right. I started when I was a baby. Thank you for that. It truly is an incredible industry with incredible benefits, and I would say it's even much better than a living wage. It is a wage you can raise your children, educate your children, grow and save for retirement and all of those things. So we're excited about that.
I think it's good to hear that because that question has been asked more than once. And the answer is literally almost the same. Like you and the person before you did not hesitate to say absolutely, because I think giving folk the opportunity to thrive in the city of New Orleans is what any, to me, company should be doing for its people. Living wage is a conversation that is happening all across New Orleans. And for you to be a new business coming in and to say without a doubt, absolutely, that this is being offered, I think that says a lot about the company itself. And so pull you out of retirement too and away from the grandbabies, that too says a lot about the company, because who gives up retirement after being in the field for 40 years and give up grandbabies to come back into it? You have to love what you do, and the company had to be something that you believed in to come out of retirement for. So that too says a lot about what Delta Utilities put on the table for you.
It had to be perfect.
Yeah.
Honestly, it had to be the moon, the sun, and the stars all aligning, and it did.
Mm.
And it did in the city that I just think the world of. There's no greater city in this country. There's no greater city in the world. Those friends of mine out there, it's funny. When I meet someone, they laugh. They say, "What's the first thing that comes out of Pete's mouth?" I'm from New Orleans, and I am proud of that, and I want to be here, and I would not have done it for anything else.
We have a caller on line one. Good morning, Ken. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're on with the folk from Delta Utilities.
Are you there?
That's all right. Bishop Tom Watson, welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're on with Delta Utilities.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Bishop.
Yeah, well, look, I'm very concerned about the community connection with this company. I don't know anything about it. And I've always been concerned that Entergy has this monopoly in terms of our utility. Now with natural gas, you all will have a type of monopoly, so to speak. My concern is maybe a twofold question. How do you see your company truly having a realistic plan for connecting to the community in terms of engaging citizens at various levels to really be, if you will, seen as a part of what you're doing and not just consumers? In other words, what's your true plan for community involvement? What would be some of the takeaways where, let's say, a year from now, we turn around in this city and say, okay, we're very pleased with this company because they did several things to uplift our community, particularly vulnerable people. So what's your community engagement plan? And secondly, is there a plan for a type of community advisory type of, not so much a board, but a committee, if you will, that would help you to understand New Orleans better. Though you may be a native New Orleanian, your company is not a native company. So help me with those two approaches to maybe the community at large embracing your company other than being consumers.
Thank you, Bishop.
Bishop, thank you. I certainly appreciate the question. So along with providing safe and reliable and affordable natural gas, making a positive impact in the communities that we serve is one of our core values. And we live those core values across all of our operations. So one of the things that we're doing is developing a foundation that's going to be focused on supporting initiatives in the communities that we serve, focused on environmental stewardship and community vitality. We're very excited about this, and we are expecting to start to accept grant applications in the fall of this year. And that's really going to allow us, I think, to kind of build the community partnership that we've been talking about. So we are very excited about that. And as to your second question, we are certainly interested in exploring some sort of community advisory committee, and that's something that we'll be talking about as we continue to grow.
And Bishop, if I could, volunteerism is at the core of what any strong company needs to support. We will be extremely supportive of our employees engaging deeply as volunteers in their community. We will support them with the time they need to do that. We'll support them financially through the foundation to support the causes that they want to deeply engage in. And you have to do that to be a successful company. You have to have the community see you daily out in the community.
And I think, we have already started to do that in some ways. We have a partnership with French Quarter Fest, with Satchmo Fest, which are some of my favorite festivals because they are free. Yeah. So there's no cost for people to attend those. And I think you'll start to see us continue to sponsor things like that in the community. We have a partnership with Junior Achievement, which I'm very passionate about that organization. And as we think about developing our workforce pipeline, long time, Pete said that, we do have an aging workforce. So it's important that we educate younger people about careers in energy. And so we're going to be rolling out a storefront in BizTown on Delgado's campus, hopefully in the fall. And they welcome about 4,000 young students every year through that facility.
Well, listen, we appreciate you joining us. If you just joined the conversation, you missed a good one with Delta Utilities Executive Chairman of the Board, Mr. Pete Tomanillo, and Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Ms. Sarah Porteous. Thank you for joining us. I'm certain you'll be back. And listen, this was a winner.
I know. I know. What am I going to do?
Y'all, this was a great pleasure.
This is a winner. Listen, everything, he checked every box until he hit me with Jesuit upside my head.
Let me tell you, all my friends at St. Aug and everywhere else. Good friends throughout the city.
But no, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you availing yourself to questions and being open with the public. And I do know of some things you guys are doing community-wise since you've been on the ground working. And so come July 1st, I'm glad to see you do some real good work for the community. So thank you again for being here. We appreciate you. And I know we're going to see you next time. I don't know who you're going to bring. That's going to top Algiers.
I know.
But I'm certain you're going to try. We're going to go to break. But when we come back, Tom, if you still want to talk to me, hold on for me. I'll catch you on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
All day long.
Missed a show? Want to hear that guest everyone's talking about? WBOK is now streaming on all your favorite podcast apps. Just search WBOK Media, hit download, share with a friend, and don't forget to rate your favorite shows 5 stars. Because when our voices are heard, our impact grows.
Good morning and happy Wednesday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at what's making headlines. This morning, New Orleans police are investigating 2 shootings, one of them deadly. The latest happened around 10:30 last night on Pogger Street in the 7th Ward. We're told a man showed up at a local hospital with a gunshot wound and later died. And earlier, around 6:30 p.m., police say a man was reportedly driving on South Claiborne Avenue near General Taylor Street when he tried to merge into traffic in front of another car. One of the people in that other car allegedly pulled out a gun and fired into the victim's vehicle, hitting him. There is no word on his condition at this time. Then a restaurant owner has filed a lawsuit against Mayor LaToya Cantrell regarding her decision to end the city's contract with Ivy Waste. The mayor wants Henry Consulting to take over services in August, but the lawsuit claims Henry Consulting is not capable of keeping the quarter clean. No word yet on when that matter will be heard in court. And finally, the celebration continues tonight with a special event inside Alex Box Stadium to honor the Tigers and their national championship win. Gates open at 7 and the festivities get going at 8. We will have live coverage starting at 6:30 p.m. right here on WDSU and on our digital platforms. That's in case you can't make it out to Baton Rouge. And that's a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News. Have a great day.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
Hi, this is Cary Grant. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events and sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join us every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Cary Show.
People in our community are faced with a 25-year life expectancy decrease compared to the rest of New Orleans. That is unacceptable. Patients should trust NOE because we're not just physicians and nurses.
It's a family, and it's an honor and privilege to care for my neighbors, my friends, the patients here in the New Orleans East community.
Call 504-592-6600 to schedule an appointment or visit noehospital.org.
New Orleans East Hospital, now accepting new patients, now accepting you.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Back. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta Wire. Shout out to my co-host, Will Sutton. Hey, Will.
Good morning.
If you're just joining us, you missed a conversation with Delta Utilities Executive Chairman of the Board, Pete Tomanello, and Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Sarah Porteous. We're going to jump to the phone lines because they're ringing. Good morning, Tom. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. Tom.
Hello.
Good morning, Ken. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, Dr. Wyatt. I hope you're doing well and have recovered fully.
I am doing okay. Will is also in studio with me this morning.
Well, you know, D. Will Sutton is, of course, going to be there. So, you can't take nothing off that, brother.
All right. Good morning.
What you say, Ken?
Well, what I'm saying is it's great to have a new utility. It's good to have diversification and specialization. So we'll see what else that brings. And it's a chance for a fresh start that they can be good community partners, and I hope we see that occur. All indications are that they will be. On a different note, the trash contract, I saw that And all I could say to myself was more time to delay. Lenny Levinson, or Leonard Levinson, who is their lawyer, represents a number of people in the court. I am familiar with Mr. Levinson from things that I've worked on in the past. He's an extremely good lawyer. But he has an outright, absolute loser. Very straightforward, because here's the deal. The specifications on the contract are what they are. When you start making comments in writing, which frankly surprises me that they can't do this and Richards can't do that, that's defamatory. Mr. Richards likely will look into suing them, and he has some pretty good lawyers at his disposal, a countersuit. But this is all for the purpose of delay. Now, here's what happens. Let's just say they can get Henry off of it. If they try to run the specifications, which Mr. Torres has said, you should run a new bid. You should rebid this with the specifications of what I'm doing. That's not what the bid was. And there are going to be very few people with that sort of equipment. So basically, you would, which is one of the ways if you want to give somebody a contract, you make the specifications so that nobody else can compete. He lost. He was third in line. He lost. $3 million worth. He was higher than everybody else. Hey, we love what he's doing. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I think he's doing a great job. But what do people want to pay? Now, if the French Quarter residents want to pay the rest of the money along with the big mouth businesses, let them. Like everybody else, create a special taxing district. You pay for that.
Yeah.
But to besmirch somebody's name, to file a lawsuit which is meritless, baseless, and outright just good for nothing, I got a problem with that. You know, I got a real problem with that. You're misusing the law in ways it's not intended to be.
Ken,
Mr.
I have a
Richards
couple of
is
questions for
more
you.
than capable.
Ken, I have a
to do
couple
the
of
job. Go
questions. Are you there?
Go ahead.
Yeah, just
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So I have a couple of questions for you. One is, as an astute attorney who has dealt with all kinds of municipal and other legal affairs, give me some context for somebody filing a lawsuit with key points that judges have already ruled on as invalid. How can that move forward in a way that they can think that can be successful?
Well, the point is they know it can't be. This is dilatory. This is to delay. This is to stop the contract from taking effect. The City of New Orleans versus Rice Group versus City of New Orleans, that's one. Troy Henry's own lawsuit, that's two. And then there's a third, and I can't call it right offhand, but I was reading this last night, but I can't call it offhand right away, which it's a matter of what the charter says the executive authority of the mayor is. The mayor administrates and operates city functions writ large, in total. This is not, the council this, the council that. The council has passed several ordinances, including one just recently in April, which says that if they don't sign the agreement, it's not an agreement. That's not what's in the charter. You want a charter change, you do a charter change, which leads me to the fact that, and you've heard me say this before, and on Friday I'll get in a lot more depth about this, they want to change the way the city works. This is a hostile takeover. This lawsuit is just emblematic of we want to do what we want to do. And this is not connected to the larger piece in whole, but they know that this is a loser. Lenny Levinson knows this is a loser. But it will delay enacting the contract. That's what it will do. And under a new regime, one more favorable, one hopeful that they'll have, and I won't say anybody's names here, this is what you will get on a regular basis. You will get contracts snatched. You will get things changed. I wish I had a lot more on the legal side, but the council's passed a bunch of ordinances, the one saying about legal contracts, this one about the travel ban, which I'll be in court on this morning, just the litany of things that they have no authority, which the charter clearly states the council's powers are these. the mayor's powers are these, and they don't care about any of that.
Well, I
That's
appreciate your
what
time
bothers
this morning, Ken, and I always like to pick your brain in terms of legal parameters because when I was reading it, it literally came off the page when I read that the folk who are putting forth this lawsuit, Daniel Conwell and Marina Konstopoulos, they're saying Henry Consulting taking over the trash contract will result in worse trash pickups in their neighborhood. And my only question is, how do you know that? Like, how can you
They
make
have no
such a
proof.
bold declaration? How do you know that is my question.
They have no proof. They have no proof. They just want IV waste, to stay in place. I understand that people want what they want. They don't have any proof of it. That's why it's baseless and it's meritless, and the accusations mean absolutely nothing. But the catch is, by the time this gets to court for a full hearing, the mayor's term will be up. That's the whole purpose.
Yeah, thank you,
So-
Ken. I go ahead.
Yeah, so real quick, if the judges have ruled that the city council argument is invalid based on the charter, why wouldn't the contract be able to move forward on August 1?
Well, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't move forward on August 1, quite frankly, and that it likely will. But they're going to go in and ask for what's called a temporary restraining order, which will be filed. It should be heard in the next 10 or so days. And then you'll have a preliminary injunction, which is a device that's on hold until the end of the lawsuit. I doubt they win either one of those, but the suit itself will proceed forward. But that should not stop the enactment of the contract itself.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate you as always. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks.
All right, guys.
See you
Have a good
Friday.
one. Good morning, Tom. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Oh, thank you so much for taking my call.
Oh, this Pop.
Yeah.
Hey, Pop.
Is this me? Is what's left of me?
Yeah, I don't know why they have your name in there
Happy
like that. but-
birthday.
Hey, Pop.
Welcome to the Old People Club.
Well, thank you.
All
thank
right
you.
now.
Yeah, I'm a young senior, Pop.
Yes. And Dr. Wise, you had me upset for a while.
Why? What did I do?
Man, I don't know when they said, I said, wait a minute now. And then you came right back the next day. I said, oh, wow. That's something.
I would never just leave you like that. I just wasn't
I
feeling
said,
well.
man,
that
wait
morning.
a minute, hold up.
Pop, I hope you heard my prayer.
Yeah, oh, did I hear it? I was praying with you, Will.
All right.
Yes, and did I hear your prayer? Yes, indeed.
Well, I'm right
I'm
here,
a
Pop.
voice
I ain't
of
going
faith.
nowhere.
But I wanted to comment on that new gas takeover.
Okay.
Yep.
I've been on this planet a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you have something like that, you can expect a price to go up, even though prices have gone up since I come up. But only thing I have a problem with is that two things. We got a government now that's trying to take everything from you, your pension, the jobs, and then what I'm hearing from this man, you can't even pay your bill through the bank. You're making it more difficult for you to walk in and pay your bill. So I don't see nothing good coming out of this.
Well, you did hear that they have they're going to have two customer service walk-ups available, one in the East Bank and one in the West Bank. So they'll have those. Do you think that's not enough?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Where is it going to be located at? On the East
One on
Bank, the
Canal
West
Street
Bank?
inside of the Energy Building at 3400, and the other one will be on the West Bank in Algiers on General de Gaulle. There'll be a
that's
partnership
good
with
thing.
Liberty Bank.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing right there. So that's not a bad thing. So I take back, but I know we're gonna go up we're gonna have the price is gonna go up, but we got to deal with it if you want to live. And I want to live I want to be as long as Moses. Yes, indeed.
Well, I appreciate you, Pop, and I thank you for praying for me.
As long as my mind, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. As long as my mind is kind of working and I got a reasonable portion of health and strength, I want to be around so I can listen to y'all every day.
And we appreciate it.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Pop. Appreciate you. Listen, I appreciate you, Pop. I appreciate all of the WBOK listening audience, and I do not like missing work, but I just wasn't feeling well. But I'm back now, y'all. I'm back, and we're gonna continue to talk about some local stuff as it relates to
can we talk some more about this raid?
Yeah, we can talk about the raid. You also wanted to talk about your
I will, but
your column.
I want to hear.
The raid to me, and I wanted to talk about the raid because I think it's important for folk to know, again, all of these agencies that were there and all of the properties that they went to and talking about seizing, and they arrested 6 people, but they only got a half a pound of drug paraphernalia. It was cocaine, fentanyl,
MDHA,
and MDMA. All of that together was under a half a pound of drug paraphernalia. And so to hear that they had been having these businesses under surveillance for at least a month, and this was a huge sting operation. They got $6,000, half a pound of drug paraphernalia, and they made 6 arrests. So it felt to me like the show of force and all of these interagencies. I just thought that the seizure would have been more. It felt very underwhelming. Let me just say that.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it felt very underwhelming.
And they've closed the businesses.
It surely wasn't Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, right.
Griselda Blanco type stuff. You know what I mean?
They've closed the businesses, so that was a desired, intended result, I'm sure, so that they could get whatever they did get and then stop the alleged criminal activity, so that neighbors, residents, customers,
$6,000 whole dollars
who were uncomfortable would feel more comfortable without them in operation. So this is another set of businesses that the DA, Jason Williams, and law enforcement have closed. And they do these things in large part because people are complaining, people are concerned. They're concerned about their safety.
I don't like theater, though. I don't like theater.
Laughable.
Yeah, $6,000 US, a half a pound of drug paraphernalia. They seized 2 properties, made 6 arrests, and all of the folk but one are over 40. Are over 40. So I just think at some point you gotta give up the game. If just give up the game, like go $6,000, half a pound of drugs. It just felt very underwhelming for all of the show of force that we saw associated with it. We have to go to break. On the other side of the break, you'll hear a bit about Will's column about the mayoral.
Yeah, I wrote the
mayoral
campaign
race, and as it relates to the black vote.
Black vote, yeah.
The black vote. And also, I'll give you an update on the Carmelo Anthony case. Carmelo Anthony is the young man accused of stabbing to death another high school student at a track meet. I'll give you some updates on that case on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
All day long.
You know they're charging it.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Today is a WDSU First Warning Weather Impact Day as a heat advisory remains in effect through 7 p.m. Afternoon highs will reach the mid-90s, but it could feel as hot as 110 degrees. There's also a slight chance, about 20%, for a few afternoon showers or thunderstorms, but most of us will stay dry and hot. Take precautions in the heat today and check on pets and loved ones. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Hey WBOK 1230 family, this is Angie from the Sincerely Angie podcast. Make sure you're tuning in every Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. to Conversations with Ron Richardson, where the conversations are all the way live and informative. Conversations with Ron Richardson every Saturday on WBOK 1230 a.m.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month by the community scientists at Rise St. James. This month we spotlight phthalates, chemicals added to plastics, especially PVC, to make them more flexible and durable. But there's more. Research shows phthalates may disrupt hormones, affect reproductive health, and contribute to environmental pollution impacting our communities. Join us as we explore how these additives shape our everyday lives and the world around us. For more details, visit risestjames.org. Empower your knowledge with Rise.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 1230 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
WBOK and LCMC Health are proud to present Keeping You Well Cafe, 60 Minutes with LCMC Health, where the doctors speak directly to the people of New Orleans. LCMC Health is committed to improving the quality of care here in New Orleans, the Gulf South, and beyond. The Keeping You Well Cafe is another way for LCMC Health to engage with the community. At the Keeping You Well Cafe, LCMC Health joins WBOK and local businesses to answer your questions about wellness and health.
Have you ever imagined yourself on the sidelines of the big game, representing athletes in negotiations, working in sports medicine? We're calling all high school students interested in a future career in sports. The Starting Block, a program created by the family of my dear friend, the late chef Leah Chase, and by yours truly, Arnie Filko, is accepting applications now for our third cohort, which begins this fall. Participants in this prestigious program learn from the experts in sports administration, marketing, broadcast journalism, and more. Run in partnership with Tulane's Center for Sport, the Starting Block incorporates real-life experiences shadowing local sports teams alongside classroom instruction led by the best in the field. If you're a rising freshman, sophomore, or junior across the metro New Orleans area interested in a future career in sports, please visit thestartingblocknola.com. Thestartingblocknola.com now to learn more and to apply for our 18-month free program.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Shout out to my super producer, Nyron Sanders.
Nyron.
And
interns.
And my co-host, Will Sutton. Hey,
Good
Will.
morning. Good morning.
So before the break, I was telling you about the update to the Carmelo Anthony case. I'll tell you quickly about that because Will is going to take us into his column, which is going to lead us into voting. To make certain that you know when the early voting dates are in election, when election day is. But if you're not familiar with the case of Carmelo Anthony, he is the Texas teen accused of a fatal track meet stabbing of another student. They have charged this young man with first-degree murder. Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis described Austin Metcalf's death as a violent loss. Now, if you don't remember the facts of this incident, Carmelo Anthony was at a community event at a track field in the stands, minding his business, sitting under a tent. The young man who was stabbed and ultimately died has a brother. They both approach Carmelo, asking him to move from under a tent that did not belong to them. And then one of the young men who ultimately was stabbed and ultimately died physically accosted Carmelo Anthony, to which Carmelo told him, "Don't put your hands on me." He did it again, and that is when Carmelo Anthony pulled something from his bag, which was alleged to have been a knife at the time, but now they're saying it is the thing that helps you put your spikes in your shoe. So it's a part of the track bag. And so that is what he ultimately used to protect himself. I don't know what the district attorney went into the grand jury telling them. I have no idea, but they came back and indicted this young man for first-degree murder. I don't know how you have intent to kill somebody that you had no intent on even talking to or harming, because you did not accost them. They accosted you. I don't know why everybody can stand their ground except some people. I find this very, very alarming. And the district attorney talking about, for weeks, my team has been presenting evidence to the grand jury. Today, I summarized the evidence, and I asked your grand jury to return a first-degree murder indictment against Carmelo Anthony, which they did. You could indict a ham sandwich if you go in there and tell the people the right thing, because only one side is able to present. But let's be very clear. We need to keep our eyes on this case because, again, you have to understand the facts of what happened. This was a community event. The tent where the young man was sitting, he had permission to sit there. He was actually listening to music on his phone, minding his business, when these two young men approached him. Not one of them, both of them approached him. One of them physically put his hands on him, not once but twice, after he asked him, don't touch him. And then, according to the young man himself, he defended himself. That is what he said. And now he's been indicted and charged with first-degree murder. He's been out of custody after posting $250,000 bail. He was allowed to graduate. He could not walk the stage, but he was allowed to graduate, something that the young man's family was trying to prevent him from doing. By his family, I mean his mama. The young man's mama was trying to prevent Carmelo Anthony from graduating, something he had earned the right to do a month before, because he had finished all his courses, had all of his credits. So I don't see how she thought she was going to stop him from getting something he earned. That was weird. But nonetheless, please keep your eyes on what is happening out in Texas. The young man, Carmelo Anthony, has been indicted and charged with first-degree murder in the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf. So I just wanted to give you that update, and we're going to turn it over to Will.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, it's very much important. I think it's important, too, because I like to talk about patterns around here and about what sets a precedent. So what is a stand your ground? What is a self-defense claim when you're sitting somewhere minding your business and somebody comes in and put their hands on you? And then the prosecutor, he's putting all of this inflammatory language on it, talking about a violent loss. Well, what he did to lose his life was also violent. You know, we don't condone violence, but let's be clear here. Everybody has a right to self-preservation. You don't get to put your hands on me in no manner, shape, or form. You don't get to accost me publicly in the full view of a whole bunch of people. So everybody saw this happen. I don't understand how they came back with a first-degree murder indictment, but we shall see how this plays out. But let's jump into your article talking about the importance of the black vote. Is it even important?
Well,
as it relates to the mayoral race?
I've been looking at, as this mayoral campaign and the campaigns continue to move along toward the fall election. I've been looking at data and talking to a number of people, and I can't write everything that I, tidbits that I come upon. But sometimes I feel like there's a moment when I have enough information to maybe provide a little different perspective, a little different context.
And your column is entitled, "In New Orleans mayor's race, black voters don't matter like they used to."
Yes.
You wanted to catch people's attention with that one.
So my point there is that there was a time not that long ago in the 70s when the black vote could elect a mayor like Dutch Morial. More than 95% of the black vote went to Dutch Morial. And over time, the black vote has changed in New Orleans for a number of reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is population loss. So we have 120,000 fewer black folks in the city. We have 23,000 fewer white folks in the city. We've got more than 14,000 Hispanics new to the city. And of the people who are moving into the city, there are more white folks than black folks who have moved into the city. So that's just based on population. Now, then you look at registration, and we have some decent registration numbers among black folks. The problem is when you look at who's actually voting, there are more white folks voting than registered black folks. And so that has implications for not just the mayoral campaign, but for city council, for sheriff, and other campaigns as well. And just recent history, Desiree Charbonnet and Mayor Cantrell in the general election, they split a black vote about 40-40. So that was with those two prime candidates. And then, other candidates had 9% and less. But then in the runoff, of course, the mayor won with more than 60% of the black vote.
Your article says New Orleans is still a majority black city, but there aren't as many black voters as there used to be. Black people aren't a monolith, and the black vote will split.
It will. Yep. And so I look at this as an educational and informational column. I hope you read it. It's at NOLA.com. But what I want people to take away from it is the election is in October. There's time to register and to make a plan to vote. And you're hearing at WBOK about the importance of this. This does not have to be the case. There are enough black folks in the city to determine an election. But too many of us are not registered. And of the people who are registered, not enough of us are voting.
Early voting is September 27th to October 4th. Election day is October 11th. You still have time to check your voter registration status. If you are somehow purged from the record, you still have time to get that fixed. So please go to the Secretary of State's office or the Go Vote app and check your registration status. Again, early voting is September 27th to October 4th. Election day is October 11th. You also said something in an article that says in 2010, Lieutenant Governor Mitch Landrieu became New Orleans' first white mayor since his father, Moon Landrieu, was mayor 32 years prior. He did it winning more than 63% of the black vote. Is Miss Landrieu white?
He is.
Oh, he is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's important to understand that just being registered to vote is not enough.
It's not.
We have
You have to take that step.
We have to get up, get out, and go and vote. And as it relates to the black vote, no, we're not a monolith. But I do think on certain things, we have to be one band, one sound to make certain that change happens. And what I mean by one band, one sound, we all are responsible for helping somebody get to the poll. You can vote for whoever your candidate is, but we need to ensure that we all get up and lift our voices and actually vote. It is not enough to just be registered. There are far too many registered voters not voting. And we see what that gets us. Most people who are running for office, most of them hang their hat on knowing where the chronic voters are. They plan strategically about reaching them, and they don't even bother reaching you because they look at the voter roll, and they say you don't vote. So it makes no sense to even try to engage you. And I think that's where part of the problem is. Folk are not engaged, and then the people who are running are not trying to engage them because they feel like, nothing is going to get you out if you haven't done it in 5, 6, 7 elections. You won't do it for this election. But I think it's very dangerous to not vote. And I believe whether you go on the ballot and cast your vote or not, a non-vote is a vote.
It is a vote.
I mean, and again, early voting is September 27th to October 4th. Election day is October the 11th. We have the mayor on the ballot. The sheriff is on the ballot. The civil and criminal clerk of courts are on the ballot. Assessor and the coroner are on the ballot, as well as the council.
Yep.
It is also on the ballot. The at-large seats are up, and every district, A through E, has a contender. And so it is important that we lift our voices and vote. Y'all stay tuned. Up next for the Front Porch, we're grilling the Kimbo. As far as the Good Morning Show, Dr. Ashanta White, Will Sutton, and our super producer, Naira Sanders. We're going to see you tomorrow. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
All